everybody. This is Love from Above with your Sibling Spirit Guides. I'm Maureen, and this is my brother.
Hey, this is Brian. Hey, Maureen. Hey, everyone.
Gosh, we're so happy to be here. On this podcast, we share the daily channelings we receive from star beings, ascended masters, mythical beings who really exist, and occasionally our ancestors. And Brian, we're not wasting our listeners' time. Oh my gosh, look at today's topic. The one creator's origin, time, and energetic cords in like 20 some minutes. I mean, is that amazing, Brian?
It is. And again, 41. Do you believe that? I think we talked about this before. Most podcasts last less than 20 episodes, so we're already doubled what most podcasts. So we're doing well, Maureen. Give us a pat on the back and you keep it going. We've been very consistent. Appreciate that. So yeah, once you get into this.
Well, the amazing thing, and we were just talking about this before we started recording, there's just so much, you know, insightful information. And it just keeps on coming in and then coming in and coming in. And so this first session we're going to cover is from the Palladians, and it was on August 11th of this year. And they go on to say, hello, we arise to come to meet your location. We are known as the brothers and sisters from the Pleiades. We congratulate you on your single focus of aspiring to greater heights of carrying the love and the light of the one creator. This is the task that the one known as Jesus set before humankind. His message gets lost in the details. The true message of his life and death was the transcendence of light, which he carried as he journeyed on his winding path in contact with multiple souls. So isn't that interesting, Brian? That is the true message of the life of Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I'm sure read a lot of books about how, Jesus wanted to be remembered. It's not, the way most Christians remember him and things like that. I don't want to get too sidetracked on that, but it is, that sums it up exactly, about the true message of his life and death was the transcendence of light. So, totally agree.
Yeah. And I don't want to get into it either, but I do find like the real history of Jesus, like really, really interesting, and all of the teachings that he received. But then they go on to say, we indeed note that you are aware of your presence. So I will tell you this, people who are listening. For me, I guess the color blue is associated with the Pleiades, and how I know that they're present is I see like these little pinprick of blue lights like floating in the air. And so if you ever see those pinprick of blue lights floating in the air, I guess that's the Pleiades brothers and sisters. Have you ever seen that, Brian?
I do not think I have, so, but I don't see as much as you, but I get things in a different way, right? I feel energy, but not don't really see things. So, but
Well,
interesting.
I figured that out with a friend of mine and my former Reiki master, Sahara, and we were both talking. I'm like, because she had figured out that that was the Pleiades, and I was like, oh, I see that exactly. I knew exactly what she was talking about, like these little pinpricks of blue light. So it was kind of fun that we were both seeing the same unusual phenomenon. But anyway, I'll go on and continue with what they had to say. We wish to discuss a subject matter that has yet to be breached, and that is of the one creator's origin. Yes, tell us more. How can we know about the one creator? It is because we hail from the one creator's family tree. It would be as if you asked your grandparents about their origins. The same is true with us. The one creator awoke. The same is true for many humans as they awake from their slumbers, recognizing that their true experiences in life are to lead them to evaluate their participation in loving relationships with the self, loving relationships with the other, with the one. We ask the one creator what happened before they were present. They cannot discuss this matter because they were encased in a deep and restful slumber. It is the age-old question, which came first, the chicken or the egg? The answer we cannot provide. However, we hope to encourage those who have yet to awaken that even the one had to slough off the shackles of a deep and comforting time of slumber. Isn't that fascinating, Brian?
Yeah, and it is. That's where I wanted to talk about this one because we've read a lot of books and I've never read anything about this, that the one creator had an awakening, so that's something that, like you said, I guess it's never been broached in any other spirituality book we've read. So I did find that fascinating.
Yeah, but if it makes sense, if we were created in the reflection of the one creator's image, and if everything is as above as below, then it would make sense that our life processes would mirror the one creator's life processes. So it makes sense, but you're right. It's not something I ever read about or heard about in another podcast or on YouTube or something like that. So yeah, bravo to you, Brian, for bringing this one up.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're going to go on. The next subject is around time continuum and energetic cords. So this was recently in the last week or so. We wish to update you on the process of your space-time continuum. How does this look from an exterior projection? Imagine if you were to see a single track on a single train on a lengthy track. That is the holographic projection of your space-time reality. It puts you in a singular track where one event flows after the next in a linear fashion, while as a being with ever-present light of the one creator within, nothing can limit you. You are limitless and free. It's as if the human is a dog tethered to a chair, when in reality, he or she could push over the chair and be free in one moment. The truth about the space-time continuum is that to be free requires a momentous action. However, once free, you can never be tethered. Um, so I did, we've this is something that we've talked about, and it's interesting because they mention that it's really only or primarily on Earth where there's this, space-time continuum, and it doesn't exist other places. So I like but I love their analogies. And so the train track or the lengthy track was, I think, a great analogy to sort of present how we see things, but that we are limitless and can break away. It's sort of hard to comprehend. What are your thoughts on that, Maureen?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that well, I'm really grateful for all these analogies because it really helps to understand these difficult concepts in a really easy way. But if you think about the train track, what's ahead of you is the future, what is behind you is the past. So it just makes it clear, but you don't have to be on the train track. You can go up, you can go diagonally, you can go down, you can go any which way you want to. You don't have to stay on that train track. So it's interesting, and it's kind of what we talked about in last week's podcast, in that literally anything is possible. To break through and realize that this reality is but a dream, and you can create whatever you want, just like how you would interrupt your dream if you were having a scary nightmare and wake up from it. You can do the same in this reality. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. They go on to give another analogy because I didn't really understand I didn't really understand the whole dog thing with the tether. I mean, I did, but I want I asked them to give me another example, and they said, we shall ponder We shall give you the example of your stairs. You must take an effort to climb up a flight of stairs. Older people or those with an infirm condition will have to take the elevator. However, in this analogy, only the stairs work. You must incur the effort to climb up to the top. Once you're in the top, you have a better view and you're able to see what you could not see in the bottom level. Say you're in a dense forest and the foliage obstructs your view at the ground level. Should you climb above, you'll be able to see in totality. The same is true once you climb above the utilitarianism of the present time-space reality. And you know what, Brian, this reminds me of is there's so many of the teachings that we study, it talks about, even though we have all of this help around us, that it does require our own individual effort to break through. And that's what both of these analogies are talking about too, that you have to take the impetus to break through, to walk through the door, to walk up the stairs, to break the tether of that leash.
Yeah, it is interesting, and it's sort of hard for me to fathom like this, the actionable steps to make that happen, though. You know what I mean? That's the thing. And they go on to give some more examples, and then because I want to ask about what they say here. So they said, because you exactly asked that, can you give me an example of what concrete action this would require? Um, and they said the action is dependent on the individual. In this way, every person is unique. For one, it may be to meditate. For another, it may be to astral travel. For another, it may be to ascertain a certain position in their holographic reality. It does not matter. It's the force that is required. Um, so before it goes on to this stop there, I'm not really getting. I know it depends on the individual, but it's the force. So I'm not really understanding how, like, what do you take away from that? Like, how do you, is the force just thinking about something, or how do you
No, I
feel
really
about
think
that?
it's an action. And, for those who listen, Brian and I really studied a lot and went to a workshop with Dr. Joe Dispenza. And actually, Brian, I don't know if you remember, but he talks about this. So he talks about there's like a gap. So say you're moving from one level to another, that there is kind of like this leap of faith that you have to like go through, and it requires a burst of energy. Um, and for me, I will tell you how it comes to me. I know how it comes to me. So I'll be in meditation or I'll be lucidly awake in a dream and I see a door. And the door is always different. It's always different. It could be like a very ornate carved door. It could be a simple plain door. It could be, the door is always different. But and the door is far away, but I know when the door is open that I'm supposed to walk through it. I'm supposed to walk through it. And I know that when I walk through that door, like I'm entering into a new reality. I've ascended one rung on the ladder. And just recently, it was like last night or the other night, I was lucidly awake in my dream and I saw a door and I was like, I see that door, I kind of stop. I'm like, I got to get to that door and walk through it. Um, so yeah, I mean, I know that that is for me, and it's this effort that's required. And it's like I'm not really in this reality. It's like I'm in meditation, I'm in a lucid dream, but it does require the effort for me. I see that door and I'm like, get me through that door. Um, so I think that's what's required for you. Do you know what your burst of energy to break through
No,
to the next
I really
would
can't
be?
say they do, but it's interesting as you mentioned that exactly about the door, because that's exactly what they say is that it says, say you're standing in front of a door, the door is ajar slightly, but you require no movement to enter. This cannot be the case. The same is true for the human who wishes to break through the time-space reality. You must push through to enter the door through the doorway. Once you're through, no further effort is required. You are in a new reality. It requires a burst, an energetic burst to enter this new reality. So we tell you at this present moment that you are ultimately incredibly close to achieving this spectacular feat. So, but yeah, so it aligns exactly with what you're saying. It's you have to push through this door in order to, break into the new reality. So very
And
interesting.
I'm looking at the date of that. That was November 22nd. I think I walked through that door on the November 23rd. So isn't that interesting? You know, who knows what happened when I walked through, but I definitely did walk through that door. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah,
it is interesting. I see, but you don't, yeah, you haven't gained any noticing anything different from that though since you've done that.
I will tell you I have. Like everything is going so amazingly well. At my last hotel, I was upgraded to a one-bedroom villa with my own pool. I just flew into a new country and I just couldn't like it just could not. You never know going to a new country, like what's it going to be like. It could not, everything has been going so amazingly well. I'm talking to you right now from a beautiful one-bedroom suite. I've got actually two bathrooms that I'm in here for free. So yeah, I mean, everything's going really, really, really well. May this continue is all I have to say.
Yeah. All right. Well, good to hear. So then this is the same day, but they actually switched, and we heard from our friends, the Watchers, and they said, you know, they said now is the time for us to come to gather about the energetic cords that lay dormant around this bodily force. It says, imagine, if you will, a room with all of its electronics. There's a TV, there's a washing machine, there's a lamp, there's a video recorder. All require an electric outlet. All the outlets are there for different functions, but none of them are plugged in. This is our analogy with regards to the multiple facets of the personality which can be engaged on. So it's likening to a human being, a wizard without their present tools. Each of the actions requires the engagement with the life force of the energetic cords that drapes from humanity's frames. Um, so what do you think of that? So it's I again I think they more recently they've been really providing a lot of analogies that I really find useful. Um, so I do like the analogies about all the electronic devices but not plugged in, and that's it does make sense to me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and this is something that we have read about in other teachings. I'm actually listening to that book that you recommended by RJ. What is his name?
Spina or Spina? I don't know. I do.
Yeah. And he just recently, two hotels ago, went through that thing where he said, he has you go through thing and call back all your energy through space and time. And again, my Reiki master, who I referenced previously, the one who told me about the what the blue pinprick lights meant, that was something that she would do in every session, is call back your energy. So you think about like how much energy you spent, whether it's a project at work or whether it's in a relationship that no longer exists, your energy still exists there. Your energy is still there and it's calling all of that energy back into you. And that RJ Spina says, you can't just say, oh, I'd like all my energy back. No, you have to say it with force and have it all come back to you. And so this is kind of mirroring those other teachings, which is interesting. You don't think about that, but yeah, you work on a project. So we're working on, volume one of our book, Love from Above, with the Sibling Spirit Guides. There's a lot of energy in that. but we'll keep that energy in there. So hopefully your readers can, benefit from it. But yeah, so it's interesting, really, really interesting. They go on to say each of these chords has been activated at some juncture in one's personal life. Some remain soldered to the past, others are available for future engagements. It's like your computer loaded with every possible program, yet some are activated and others lay dormant. Now we see that you understand all these energetic cords can drain on the totality of the system. This is why the rejuvenation processes are necessary for the human frame. But should you call the unnecessary cords, more energy shall return to the stem of the body frame. So just by calling back your energy, you can get more energy back. So, wow, I got to think about that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and it is really interesting that it makes sense though that that I mean the energy is so key to everything we do. So anything that provides more energy, I'm all for it. So well, yeah, I'm glad you're. Oh, we didn't talk about it. I'm glad you're reading that book, and I've actually just finished that R.J. Spenna's a second book from him that I found really interesting. So, but I'm closing on this book that I've mentioned before that I'm just almost finished. I'm like 95%. That is, we find a lot of parallels to the book we're writing. So this is called Ascension, the Shift of the Fifth Dimension by Daniel Scranton, and he's got multiple volumes. Like we expect to have multiple volumes of our channeled text. But and it's also interesting because you've channeled the Arcturians, so there's a lot, of similarities. But I just thought this relates to stuff we've talked about recently, but I want to cover this in the closing. So it says you can be wherever you want to be. You can become whatever you want to become without learning anything. We invite you to practice holding vibrations, especially the ones that you want to experience, the ones that you want to create your reality with. All that is required of you is to having a willingness to go within and seek out that vibration. Let your learning occur on a subconscious level. And if you insist on learning anything, learn how easy it is for you to find the vibration that you seek and therefore find the circumstances that you want to exist in. It's all much easier than you think, and you are ready now to experience faster turnaround times to the vibration that you are offering. So, isn't that cool? I mean, you don't have to, learn anything. It's about attuning to a vibration. Um, and I'm all for it. What are your thoughts on that, Maureen?
Yeah, I mean, and there's so many teachings that mirror that. I mean, um, I'm trying to think of the books that were written like in the early part of the 19th century. Do you remember who that guy was? He's written so many books, but it was the same thing. When he would want to manifest something, he said the key thing was in the morning, first thing in the morning, and then before you go to bed. And he would just program into his brain like what the sensation would be like. I remember the one time he was from like one of the Caribbean islands, and they said it was impossible for him to get a boat. This is before you would take planes to get a boat back to the United States. I think it was from the Dominican Republic. It just impossible. It would not be, he couldn't get a boat for like 6 weeks. And he just went to bed and he just imagined himself on the boat, imagine the sensation of the waves rocking, and sure enough, the boat company called him the next day, was like, oh, we can get you on a boat today. So,
Yeah, I
not
totally know what you're talking about. I'm trying to think of the name, but yeah,
yeah,
it's
not being limited by,
yeah,
what people tell you. It just being like, no, this is what I'm putting my reality. I'm going to be in that boat tomorrow. And sure enough, he was. So yeah, I mean, there's so many, and I just was reading in a magazine. I love Hello Magazine when I'm abroad. It's all about royalty and it's very positive. It's like People magazine, but it's only positive. And it was about some tennis couple. And, these both the male and the female are like top tennis players. And what do they do before they go to bed? They visualize. They visualize themselves winning tournaments. And guess what they're doing? Winning tournaments. So, yeah, there's so much to this.
Yeah. Well, great thing to end this on. So, um, thanks for everyone for listening on this, and we'll catch you next time.
Okay, talk to you next week. Thank you.